Good afternoon, everyone. Donovan here with Martial Arts Business Made Easy, and I want to bring you a quick story about something that's going on in my life. So last week I asked you guys if you had a rival school owner ask you to purchase their school, and what would you ask them? What would you want to know about the school? And are you equipped to take on other schools? So I had a lot of great information, a lot of great comments and questions and information. So what I want to talk about today is to tell you the truth. It actually did happen. So one of my closest competitors here in Charleston, he's been open a little over a year, about 14 months. He is a hustler. He's a grinder. He's signed about 120, 130 members right now in this time frame, but he has to leave. He has to move out of Charleston, and he wants to get rid of his school, and he wants to sell it. So here's where I come into play. So he's contacted a lot of different schools in Charleston, and no school really is equipped or ready to take on another project. So they're not ready to take on other, students, a bunch of more students, or even specially take on another facility. The big things to be able to take that on are staff, systems, things like that. And that's something that we do very well, and something I'm constantly challenging you to do very well. And so I sat down with him and we went over his numbers. And to be honest with you, he doesn't know his numbers. So it becomes very difficult to put a price tag on a business when you don't know your numbers. And another thing we need to consider is the fact that the business is very successful. I'd say very successful. It's somewhat successful. And the reason it's somewhat successful is because it's a personality-based business. It's a personality-driven business. And what I mean by that is, he is the guy waking up early and going to events and running events and doing things. Me as an owner, what if I'm not that guy? What if I'm not the guy that wants to go to all these events? We don't do a ton of events in the Charleston area. It's something we are moving into doing, but it's not something that we traditionally do. But he is doing that, right? So he's getting a lot of the market share by doing that. However, if there's another company that's not doing those same things, if a buyer isn't willing to do the same things, the company really isn't worth much, because if the company doesn't have him, it really doesn't work that well. He's the instructor. He teaches all the classes. He does all the birthday parties. He does all the parents' night outs. He does everything. So realistically, my competitor, he is the business. So without him, one, I'm eliminating one of my biggest competitors, which is great. It's awesome. I would love to be able to bring in his students to my program, and we are working out a deal for that. However, buying his company and taking over his lease and buying his equipment, absolutely out of the question. And the reason is because it's not worth anything. It's just not. He doesn't know his numbers. He doesn't know what he grosses on a typical month. His net fluctuates constantly. His gross fluctuates constantly. He has paid in fulls. He's taken some summer camp deposits. He's really just all over the place. So this is something that I'm constantly, talking to the guys that I coach, the guys and girls that I coach for business coaching with their schools. You have to know your numbers. If I wanted to sell my school, it actually would be pretty easy. Most of us have to sell our schools. We're required, pretty much to sell our schools to our number two, right? The person that's right next to us, because that's the person that knows the business. They know the insides and the outsides. They know everything about it. Whereas, if you wanted to buy a McDonald's, right? If you wanted to buy a McDonald's franchise from someone that's, it's already existing in your community, you could look at the numbers and see what they want for it and see exactly what it's valued at and decide, if it's a good deal, like purchasing a home or a car. However, with a business, especially with a small boutique gym or martial arts school, there's a lot of variables. So what we need to be focusing on is making sure your business can run without you. What would happen if you suddenly don't exist tomorrow? How would your business work? Would your family still get fed? Could they sell your company? How would you value your company? These are a lot of questions you need to be able to answer, because, like this guy's situation, I'm sure he didn't plan on leaving his school, but for, X reason, he has to leave town and he has to sell his company. And unfortunately, no one can buy it. And honestly, no one really knows what it's worth, because he has no systems, because he doesn't know his numbers. And to be honest, that makes it it really has no value. So make sure your company is valuable. Make sure your company is taken care of if you're not here anymore. And more importantly, make sure your family is taken care of if you're not here anymore. Know your numbers. All right, guys, know your numbers. What do you gross? What do you net? You should be netting at least 25% as an owner. All right, so if your school is, grossing $400,000 a year, you should be netting $100,000 a year as an owner. If you are also the head instructor, you should be making more, because you are the head employee. employee. What does it take to replace you? If you'd have to pay someone $50,000 a year to replace you, and you also are the owner, you should be making about $150,000 a year. Okay? And another thing is that's an easy way to know what you should be doing. So, if you want to make $400,000 a year, and that puts you in the six-figure range, right? How many students do you need to have? If your student value is $100, or if your student value is $150, all you need to do is divide that 400,000 by your average client value, and then divide by 12 for each month, and there you go. That's the number you need to hit. Okay, that's the number of students you need to have. That's the number of income you need to make each month. All right, guys, know your numbers. All right, if you need help with it, let me know. I'd love to help you. I'm willing to do, help anyone, even if you're not part of my coaching program. I would love to help you with your numbers. You need to know these things, guys. Protect yourself, protect your business, and most importantly, protect your family. All right, see ya.